AMG Hobby Talk number 92. I'm here with the collector of the scallops, Collector Pip Steve. How are you?
Um, I'm well, other than I'm overheating. It's been unbelievably hot here the last few days.
Yes, we are in a bit of a heat wave. Okay, so let me do the little comparison. I know that there's a little variation. So what's it looking like today? How is it over there?
We're under a heat warning. I'm not sure what the temperatures will be, but I know they've closed all the parks, and you are not allowed to go in the woods anymore. So,
Oh, really?
yes, 100%. Yeah, they've literally the woods are closed in Nova Scotia.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm just
significant
looking
fine.
here. Yeah, I'm just looking here. It looks like by the afternoon you guys will reach a heat index like in 36 or so. Okay. Sounds about right. I'm just looking up Halifax specifically. All right, I got you.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, I think we're gonna touch 40 here by midday. It's but definitely heat warning for that one.
yeah.
So yeah, the great indoors will be enjoyed. And today is a particularly good day because unlike usually the guys, usually I don't get my caffeine right on time. No, today I got Steve. I went out to Tim Hortons. I got myself a breakfast sandwich and I got myself a coffee. So we're off to a good start.
Oh boy,
Right now we're off.
I'll let you do all the talking then.
Yeah, I'm excited. Right now, we're pumped. We're ready to go. All right, a couple of things we're going to talk about here. Always give the reminder for everybody. We always talk about the card show. We'll give a little reminder here off the top here of dates and everything. Again, it'll be a couple of weeks, but always give you a reminder. Last Saturday of the month is the card show. Trade night is the Friday right before that. So trade night, all these dates. One day before that is going to be the trade night in the card shop, and then the card show is going to be on the Saturday. So you can see here. Next one coming up is going to be August 30th, followed by September 27th, October 25th, and November 29th. So these are the next several shows in order, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And obviously, you can reach out ahead of time. And then also remember, there are going to be table bookings there. You can see amgcardshow at gmail.com. And then the information is in the Bedford Place Mall. If you can find the card shop, you can find the card show.
And please note the new email, because we're still getting emails to the AMG email, which myself and Blair don't take care of that. The new email goes right to Blake, and that is the best way to book a table.
Absolutely. So I just put it right there across the bottom of the screen if you want to check it out one more time. So that is the best way to reach out if you want to get information or talk about the card show. That is the best way. So this week, the one we're going to feature is going to be SP Authentic. SP Authentic is one of the major ones. Like if you think about it on the hockey side of things, it's three things. Flagship is a big one. If you're going to follow your rookies, that's a big one with the young guns. SP Authentic with the Future Watch autographs, that's a big one that you can always get on there. And then of course the cup. So those are your three major ones. This one's going to be 24-25 SP Authentic. I had to double check the dates because we're still on the multi-year thing going on. We always have to double check. So it is 24-25. So this is close. We're getting closer. We do have 25-26 products out, so that's why we always have to double check. I'll leave a link in the description to Go GTS. That is going to be the one that's going to give us the information this time around. Also, they've got a PDF and Excel checklists. So if you want to check out the full checklist, you can download a copy and take a look at everything and see exactly what's available in the product. So we'll do that here in a minute. Before I do, though, I'm going to go over a couple of comments from last week's episode. So we did get a handful of comments, which I appreciate everybody that reaches out. Again, if there's something not time sensitive, feel free to throw it in the comment section. We'll address it on the following episode. If it is time sensitive, reach out directly to the store. You can use all the contact points. Stuff scrolling across the bottom will work. Also in the description, we do include some contact points so you can reach out, either call or reach out to the store, and then you can get answers on pricing and availability on different products, including the SP Authentic that we're going to talk about here in a minute. First comment here comes from Jeff McMahon. Says, great show as always. I guarantee you'll really like Detroit, in reference to the National in a couple of years here. I expect Eric to be there to answer for his sins against the city on the line. So that's kind of a reference to my YouTube channel. But yes, Jeff, Eric will atone for his sins. Steve cannot atone for him, but we'll get Eric on this one. There's a personal vendetta, Steve. There's vendetta that Eric in the city of Detroit. So Winston Hart here says, nice job, guys. Love seeing that vintage. I wish you had some vintage NFL to post. So that's a good comment. I think that's fair. I will say, I was chatting with Steve before we hit record. I have been very impressed with the quality of some of the vintage stuff that has been coming in. And Steve obviously is very well versed in the vintage. It's Canada. We're used to a lot of hockey and everything. But the quality of vintage baseball that has been thing. I was talking about it on my podcast that actually, Steve, even as we record these, my podcast that I recorded last night has actually already dropped on my YouTube channel. And I make reference to this podcast all the time on that one. And I mentioned that for me, the impressive thing is you guys out in the Maritimes have created kind of a honey hole of some really good vintage baseball. Not the first place that I would look for that, though. That's what's interesting about it.
No, we're on a bit of a hot streak. I mean, it's incredible. Keep it coming. And actually, we were talking before we went on air. We still have 2 or 3 more nice size collections that we're working on. So you gotta, and I mean, we didn't mean for it to all come at once, but you got to take it as it arrives, because you can, in this hobby, as most know, you can go into a bit of a drought as far as buying. You can always sell the stuff. It's finding it. So when it appears, we'll definitely take a stab at it. And then the other thing that's been very pleasant is just the quality of the cards. Usually you see the well-loved creased and beat up, and we're getting nice, medium grade EXX mint, nice cards. We've graded several that are coming back as beautiful, 5s and 6s, and it's been awesome. So keep them coming.
Absolutely.
As far as football goes, yeah, as tough as baseball is to find around here, vintage football, I would think, it's, I don't want to say non-existent, but it'd be very difficult around these parts to find like the 50s and 60s football. I just don't know. And I mean, of course, I wasn't around then, but I don't know how much of that stuff was even around here back then. It probably, a lot of it obviously would have been in the States. And I don't even know. And really, for the most part, most shows I've done in Canada, I haven't seen a ton of it from Canadian dealers. So I think back in the day, it may not have, much of it probably didn't even make its way up to Canada. But with that being said, we'd love to see some 50s and 60s football.
I think a lot of it comes down to distribution. I know that some 50s baseball was distributed here, so we did get a little bit of that. Obviously, we've got O-Pee-Chee baseball. By the time you get into the 60s and 70s and all that, you've got those things, and even the 80s. But it was the distribution thing is kind of an interesting one. Football, I think, would be trickier. I could see CFL being something that would be, but again, that's why the reason I made mention to the Maritimes and where the shop is based out of. Like when we record these, I'm based out of the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. So here, it's not crazy to think some flow between the U.S. and Canada cards could flow a little bit, even back in the day. But to get out to Maritime, that's why I say it's a little interesting. You guys, I think, over index in terms of certain things, because we've talked about in the past, like Brad has found some really interesting stuff hidden inside of some of those collections, so some really obscure issues, both new and old, that kind of, how did that even get there? That's the question. Like, the mystery is, how do these cards, if somebody is a football collector in Halifax or in the Maritimes and they happen to collect it and they buy it on eBay or whatever and they have a collection, well then great, that makes sense. But if it's something that has been sitting there or available for a long time, how did it get there in the first place? That's kind of the question.
Yeah, and we definitely have a few mantles that we're, again, working on. So yeah, it's incredible to see what's available locally. We're always traveling as well, but when we can, buy closer to home, and then I touched on before, the local vintage community. Like, I haven't posted many on eBay at the moment because the local collectors have been buying it up. So we're really good working relationship with them, and I love picking stuff up. And just like they call me the collector of the people. When I see the stuff, I get excited because I know the collectors are going to love it too. So it's been a good couple of weeks, and a little bit of usually there's a lull in the action in the summer as far as people buying newer products because they're enjoying summer and taking advantage of the warm weather and their cottages, this and that. And then of course with SP Authentic coming out, that's kind of the transition into people coming out of their slumber as the fall is we're getting closer to the fall, and more products are going to be coming out. So definitely the vintage got us through those dog days of summer.
And you guys are going to see, once I get into featuring some of the cards we got this week, you're going to be surprised. We actually go straight vintage the whole way through, and there's some nice stuff there that we'll be able to show off here. Next comment here comes from Gotham Collection. Says, best show on YouTube. Keep them coming. How about a Drake Batherson AMG signing?
There's Blair looking. Blair's looking through the window there. So
Blair, tell Blair he's got to move. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep reading this comment here. He's got the Go Sense going there, which is perfect. P.S. Brilliant job, AMG, to recommend the incredible Levi Mirlainen Cup RPA for my birthday. Nice. I was hoping to trade for that beauty card on the weekend, but now I don't have to. Thanks. Go Sens Go. We got 2 Go Sens Go in that comment this time around. There you go. So Gotham Collections. Perfect. And then Robert here says AMG continues to get great vintage cars, kind of referencing what we were talking about here. Luckily for me, they like cash, but willing to make fair trades. Excellent. Good to hear. So good comments this week. Very nice. So like I said, if there's anything not so time sensitive, you just want to throw in a comment there, feel free. We'll usually address in the following episode. If it is more time sensitive, then yeah, reach out directly to the store. That way you can get pricing and availability with whatever's going on. And that is usually the best way to get a direct response. So that covers the comments from this previous week. So let me show off some of these cards and we'll finish off with SP Authentic. So this week we're a little bit of a streamlined episode, so let's showcase this. But I'm going to take a minute to go through some of these cards because I'm actually legitimately impressed with what I saw here. So I want to take a minute and look at it. So let me start off with this. I want to start off with the 1954 Willie Mays. So 54 tops Willie Mays here. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Let me adjust this a little bit here so you can see the card better. And let me remove the scrolling ticker. So here's the thing. So right off the top here, 1954 tops Willie Mays, which is a classic card. A good clean image on this one. And we got some nice borders on the side of it. A little bit of a diamond cut on it. But again, I'm looking at nice colors. I'm looking at a fairly clean image. Right here, this is right here, we're off to a really good start here with this one.
Yeah, and that's kind of an example of what's been coming in. You know, they're not going to grade PSA 8s, but they're also not going to grade PSA 1s. Whatever it grades, it's going to be, you know, a strong, you know, if it's a 3 or a 4 or a 5. Just the, like you said, the eye appeal, the color. They're just super clean cards.
Mm-hmm. So right there, you're off to a good start. Sticking with 54, Jackie Robinson. So here's another one here. Again, we got a nice bright yellow going with it. The image, again, 54 is kind of a classic set. We got a little bit of a rough cut on the rough edges. But again, you're looking at, 1954 tops cards. And if you're a collector of it and you like some raw copies, again, in raw condition, trust me, I've seen infinitely worse. So for me, looking at this, I'm seeing a nice clean image. Again, if you're getting a nice bright yellow, some clean colors. Again, another nice card.
Yep.
Now let's go 1 year behind that. 53 tops. So this right here is a classic Jackie Robinson. If memory serves me, I think Jackie Robinson is card number 1. So one key piece of this, obviously you're talking Jackie Robinson, fantastic. Card number 1, if you guys know a little bit about vintage cards, ye old collectors, did the old rubber bands. Well, the first and last cards of series get usually a lot of the abuse. That's why so for example, 52 tops, Andy Pafko is card number 1. Andy Pafko was a good player in his day. But part of the reason that card had a little bit of a premium for many years, and still I believe does, is because it's card number 1. So a lot of those cards get a little. It's the same thing as last week with the checklist. Why would a checklist hold a premium? Well, if it's unchecked and it's clean and somebody needs it for their set, well, that's why seemingly well, then on top of it, card number 1, but you've also got a Hall of Famer, a significant Hall of Famer, and this right here, 53 tops. The thing with this one is you've got these paintings. So when you're looking at these cards, looking across the bottom edges and everything with the black border and everything, you can obviously see chipping and everything, but then look at the Jackie Robinson image itself. The image is the important thing with these cards. And when you get a nice image like this right here is a nice clean image. You're getting a nice good shot of the Jackie Robinson portrait here included in it.
Yeah, and like we've discussed before, when it comes to vintage or anything, the grade's important, but on a card like this, you actually buy the card, not the numerical grade, because this card is spectacular. Other than you see the white chipping down the bottom, but otherwise, like, it's super clean. Great focus. It's centered. I think it hopefully will grade a 3. It depends how much they ding the bottom there, but otherwise, it's just such an attractive and iconic card.
Mm-hmm. And touching on Steve's point, because it's a good call out, is that the centering itself is a nice bonus because it frames the card really well on that. So again, it's another thing that so first you look at the image itself to see how Jackie Robinson's face looks, nice and clean. And then you're looking at, you got some borders on all sides. So it kind of frames the card up very nice. Again, trust me, as someone who has collected this set and has a number of cards in it, you're looking for something along these lines, especially if you're looking at a raw copy. It's nice to have, or a graded copy, having that centering on it on top of it. Sticking with the Brooklyn Dodgers here, Pee Wee Reese. So now you got another Hall of Famer on there. Again, another nice portrait, clean image again, for the most part. This is basically what you're looking for with some nice color. It's got a little bit of stuff on it. It's not a mint condition card, but it's actually a very clean shot. Just looking at it from the front, doesn't look like there's anything crazy creasing wise either. It looks pretty solid.
No, they're clean.
Yeah. And now to finish off, very strong right here. How about a couple of Mickey Mantles? Now question? I have 2. I have this one. I have a graded one. Are they the same card, or is it the 2 different images?
Different cards. So
Very good.
the second one, and the amazing thing is they both came in on the same day from different people. So that
Mm-hmm.
just kind of shows the bit of the streak that we're on. Uh, this mantle I actually like better than the graded one. But you can see right in the middle at the bottom, there's a small little crease that's developed. But I still think, like when you see the colors of this one compared to the graded one, I like this card better. So again, where you talk about actually grading the card sometimes, not just taking the numerical grade into consideration. I like this card better than the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
this one we did send off for grading, and hopefully, because of the flaw at the bottom, it'd be nice if it came back to 3.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'll say this. I've actually owned this card previously, and to me, I think this is one of those ones. The 52 Tops mantle is obviously the iconic one. It's the one that everybody knows. But this one here is one that I've always liked. I actually thought this was a very good one. And it's one of those things where the image itself is very good. The whole arms crossed and everything. You got like a set of stairs behind him and it's the whole image and everything included in it. So this one's got a nice clean image on there. But the other thing as well is that if you're somebody who collects a lot of this stuff, you can legitimately say you have a 52 mantle just by owning one of these cards. You can say you have a 52 mantle, and while it's not cheap, because it's not, especially as the years have gone by, it's gotten more expensive as the years have gone by, but it's actually much more affordable compared to the other one, because the other one gets all the attention and a lot of the draw. But I think the 52 Bowman is kind of a sneaky one if you want a really early mantle. Again, the only thing earlier is the 51 Bowman, the rookie, which again, not inexpensive, but this one's a very nice one for a second year. And then here's the graded copy we were just talking about. So this one's already in a 3 as well. And this one looks like it's got a little blemish on his nose there. So I agree with Steve. I actually like the image on the first one better. And also I would say the centering on this one is a little bit nicer as well. So there's a couple things that this one's got going for it. So yeah,
and
but you've
and
got
the
two different
color,
versions of it.
the color definitely, like, that's not imposed through the world of Photoshop. That the colors are way more vibrant on the ungraded one.
Yeah. And then right here, I'll say here where you can see this little pillar here. If you pay attention to that, you've got a little bit of like a stain here going on with that one. So just for comparison, two of them right there, side by side. So I'll agree. But regardless, I'll say this. In our little showcase here, we get to show two 52 mantles to finish off after showing off a bunch of other 50 star. Nothing newer than 1954. We just showed off everything in the early, not even the mid 50s, Steve. We didn't even get to the mid 50s officially.
I love it. Keep it coming.
Yeah. Yeah, we stuck to the first part of it. Very nice. And again, very sneaky, surprising in the Maritimes of all places to get some nice 50s baseball there if you like the golden era. So very good. Now let's go shift over. So we'll shift over to the modern day. The new product, like I said, coming out this week is going to be 2425 Upper Deck SP Authentic. We just talked about the fact that, again, it's going to be the Future Watch Autos is going to be the big draw of it, but there is some other stuff in there as well. And one other thing we were talking about before we hit record is that this year the price point on the box has actually come down a little bit, which is nice. It is good. It feels a little bit better now to be able to say that the price point is down a little bit compared to last year. So again, pricing and availability, you can reach out directly to the store. But here we're going to go through a couple of things here, and we'll share a link in the description for you if you want to check out the checklist or take a look at some of these images as well. So real quick, if you're familiar with this in the past, it's very similar to what you should expect. You got a base set with 100 star veterans and 100 Future Watch rookies. So that list has gotten bigger over the years. The Future Watch autographs are numbered to $9.99. The autograph versions are hard signed, which is a big feature. You want to make sure a nice hard sign with the Future Watch Auto. That's very nice. And in this case, you got Celebrini included in this one, so that's something to be aware of. And it is this week. And you've got PDF and Excel copies of the checklist here. You can download and take a look for yourself. So here's what you're looking at. This set includes one Future Watch autograph card, one additional autograph card per box, plus at least one Spectrum Bounty card, 10 limited red parallels, 4 regular pageantry cards, 1 pageantry red parallel, plus 10 collaborations maximum performance and a freshman focus cards, and 1 insert or rare tech insert in every box. So that's your box configuration right there. That's what you're looking at. You've got limited auto materials, and UD Authentics auto patch cards are included, things that you can pull. And then you've got premium memorabilia, included 4 tiers of the limited auto material, each numbered to 100 or less, and both tiers of the UD Authentics auto patches are numbered to 49 or less. The Future Watch Autos is what you should expect normally in the standard. You've also got horizontal and vertical Future Watch Auto patches, so you've got those ones kind of included, and those are numbered to 100. You've got limited red, limited gold Future Watches, One of one limited black is included in there. So you've got some parallels included. Not too many, but you do have some included. And then for your insert sets, you've got pageantry, SP holofoils, collaborations, fresh and focus, and maximum performance, which we just talked about. And then there is the bounty program. Now, if you're interested in the bounty program, you got to get in on that fast because some people really do get in that. The first 50 collectors who redeem the complete 91 card set get a 100 card gold card Spectrum FX set. So it's a redemption thing, and again, you've got to be at first 50 collectors. So there are some people that are opening up cases of it. So best of luck to you if you want to pursue it, but you got to be fast with that one. The 9 card Spectrum FX bounty set and a surprise bonus. Ooh, surprise bonus! Very exciting. So here's some images, just showing you the gallery. Here's kind of your Future Watch patch auto as an example of what that looks like. Again, it's a mock-up, but in hand these should showcase kind of what you should expect. But hard signed is nice on there. Here's an example of the Celebrini, numbered to 999. Again, hard signed auto, which is good. Always appreciate that. And then here is the Future Watch, kind of the Bounty Spectrum FX. So using the logo Stankova as an example. So that should be an interesting one. It's a chase for you if you're interested. Here's another example of the Spectrum FX, Lane Hudson. So you've got that one as well. And let me just go down here. This is what your freshman focus looks like. A lot of white space, kind of very standard in terms of inserts. Here's kind of your regular Future Watch. You're limited to 100. And here's what your base card looks like. So kind of a clean design, a lot of white space. That's kind of traditional with SP Authentic, which you expect. And here is example of your Future Watch with the patch. This is what one of those would look like with the autograph on there. And here's your maximum performance as a Nathan McKinnon example. So what do you think, Steve? That's your SP Authentic look for this year.
Oh, well, I mean, for those chasing rookie cards, that was an impressive rookie class. So I think this will do very well. And like you touched on, thankfully, the price of the product has come down as well. But I mean, I saw Celebrini, Stankoven, Hudson. So there's some nice cards in there. I'm assuming Michkov's in there as well, if Celebrini is. So yeah, that's a lot of options with this set.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, and as I mentioned, like everybody else, you'll get a chance if you check out the checklist itself. You can take a closer look. There are veterans in a lot of these checklists, so obviously with this one, we can't see it as easily. I'd have to open up the Excel in order to take a look at it. Well, actually, let me see if I can open up the PDF here. I can, but it's a little bit small. But anyway, what I'll say to you is check out the checklist for yourself. There are veterans usually in there. I usually will look for Medano in the checklist. That's what I do on my end. But you can definitely find some interesting stuff on there. It's one of the staple products of the year. Like I said, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, it's the three. Flagship is a big one, SP Authentic is a big one, and the Cup. Those are the three staple products that you look for every year. If you are looking for those rookies, this is one of those ones. The Future Watch Auto is a standard that a lot of people look for, and you do have the patch versions on it if you want a little bit more of a chase, something even more a little particular. But I think that's pretty good. And then that's going to be the big release this week. There is some other restocks and things like that as well. You can reach out to the store for questions about that, availability. But for the most part, I think that's pretty good. So we'll leave it at that one. I'll include a link in the description to this one for you if you want to check that out. But before we go, I'll actually ask you one question, Steve, and we'll go off on this one. We were already showcasing. We showed off a lot of those nice vintage cards and everything in there. And obviously, some cards are going to get sent off for grading. Some cards are going to be included in it. Let me ask you a couple of questions. First one, how do you decide then if you got nice, clean cards like the examples we just looked at? Do you send them all off for grading? Do you leave some ungraded in the showcases? How do you make a decision? What do you decide with what to do with certain cards versus others?
The big cards, usually you just send them off, just like a Gretzky rookie. When someone comes in with a Gretzky rookie, whether it grades a 1 or an 8, you might as well slab it because the price point can differ significantly depending on the grade. So that way the seller is comfortable with, they know what their card's worth as opposed to speculating, especially now that the price of grading has gone up too. 20 years ago, I used to grade, $6 cards, $10 cards, because it was only like $6 to grade them. With vintage baseball, as beautiful as, the star cards are that I sent in, I've got about 300 like beautiful commons that, again, shockingly, like 52 Bowman commons are like $10 to $18. But it's one of those things, unless you're going to get an 8 on them, it's not really worth, paying to have them graded. There's the odd one, or some people like to check pop reports. So if a card has a low pop, you're like, what the heck, let's try it. But for the most part, especially with baseball, I usually go to the big cards first and base what I'm going to pay depending on those, because, I don't think there's as many set builders around of the vintage baseball and the newer generation that is in it to make money, which is understandable. They tend to go for the big guys. So they'll go after the Mantle and the Robinson, things like that. So those are the cards that are, you can tend to flip faster, while the commons, although beautiful in that, you need the right customer to come in and pluck away at a couple cards here and there. So yeah, you have to kind of, when you buy those vintage collections, separate them into what I know is going to sell fairly quickly and what I know is going to take a little while. And then the idea is to get the majority of your money back on that stuff that that you can move quick. But again, don't mind having all the vintage stuff, because that's what we do. And it's always nice when someone comes in and finds a nice looking vintage card.
All right, I think that makes sense. So let me ask you one more question, kind of related to that, since we were talking about it. When we were showing off those cards, one of the key pieces that you kind of focused on, and we were looking at the examples again with the centering and everything, we were talking about the eye appeal piece. And with a lot of the vintage cards, in modern, it's not as significant. It's not a big an issue. Your expectation is that the card should be in decent shape out of the pack. Hopefully, cross your fingers. That's what you're hoping for. But with the vintage cards, you have a big spectrum of grades. You can go from top to bottom, and you can have a nice three versus a rougher three, for example. There can be a lot of that. But then you're talking about variations. And then, so I'm going to ask the question on behalf of the audience that might be curious on this. So you're looking at it, but you realize it'll probably grade somewhere in this range. There's the technical grade, like it'll fall somewhere in this range here. But then maybe it's got bright colors. Maybe it's got a nice image. Maybe it is centered well. So technically, it would grade a 3 or a 4 or whatever. But compared to another 3 or 4 that's maybe a little dingier, not quite as nice looking, it's a nicer looking card, which, again, from your perspective or from the other person's perspective, you would value more potentially. Because, again, the eye appeal is part of the vintage game a little bit more. So, how do you kind of play with that on both ends? As a buyer, as a seller, how are you playing with the fact that, yeah, the two cards might be identical, or maybe you grade them. So you put two threes beside each other, but one really looks nice and it pops, beautiful color, nice centering. The other one is also a 3, and it's got the same technical grade, but maybe it's a little bit off center, maybe it's a little dingier image or whatever. How do you play with that when you're trying to figure out what the pricing should be as a buyer or seller?
Yeah, and I think we touched on it, a few months ago. I kind of almost did a little presentation in the showcase with Gretzky rookies, so customers could see that. Like I'd have two threes beside each other, and one's $300 more, and it was kind of I kind of like a little teaching moment, I guess, for people that are new to it, and explain to them about the centering and the eye appeal, and of course buying the card, not the grade, sometimes. And it will be the same with this stuff. Just like that Mantle, I like the ungraded one better. And if it comes back a 3, definitely will sell it for more than the 3 I just sold. But even if it's a 2, I think I could probably get more for that one than the one that was a 3. So yeah, it's all about the eye appeal and what makes the collector happy. And some of them dwell on centering, some of them dwell on I don't want any creases. So there's many different factors, and to each their own. Everyone's looking for something different, and that's kind of the enjoyable part of the hobby, is being able to fill those requirements for collectors.
No, for sure. But I guess kind of the way that I'm phrasing it, so I'll rephrase what I'm basically asking. So, for example, again, you look at something, it technically could be a 3, but it's a really nice looking copy. So, again, you said if the two are threes and you put them beside each other in that scenario, one will be priced more than the other. But when you're looking at it, then do you almost treat it like a 4? Do you like almost adjust accordingly? Even though it's a 3, you can almost treat it a little bit nicer because the buyer will look at it and go, oh, that's a really nice copy. Then I might also be willing to pay more because I like that copy versus the other one.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just received some 56 top singles back, and I've got a Clemente PSA 5. I mean, it's a 5, unfortunately, but it doesn't look like a 5. So that card has a higher price tag on it. It's definitely not a PSA 5 price. And also we had a PSA 6 Jackie Robinson that came back. Same thing. It was like, man, this is a 7 or an 8. And then it came back a 6. And you're like, it is what it is. But again, I'm buying the card in this one, not the grade. And when people see how nice that 6 is, they'll be like, yeah, that's worth an extra $300, $400, $500, because the grade, doesn't necessarily tell you how beautiful that card is.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So that's kind of what I wanted to give everybody a little bit of insight. Since we were so vintage heavy in this one, in the showcase and everything, I wanted to. That's a factor that isn't an issue in the more modern card. Because in the more modern card, our expectation is that it falls, it should be pretty nice. We shouldn't be having too many condition issues. But there are more subtleties where you've got a much larger condition potential range. You have to then account for that. Because that may be why you look at a price tag and go, but, a 4 goes for this normally. Well, take a look at that one compared to your average 4, and if it's much nicer, then the buyer and the seller are both looking at making that adjustment. So it's a little bit of a nuance there. It's a little bit more art than science because it's not as straightforward as just being able to put a percentage on it. You have to kind of play it by ear. How nice is it relative to the average?
And then and then buyers like to play that game, which is fine. That's part of the enjoyment. Where they'll get their phones out and show comps of a PSA 4 of a particular card, and then I'll have to like borrow their phone and scroll down to but here's one that was in my price range because the card was really nice. As long as you're not overpricing it, like if it was a terrible looking card and you were trying to get this, the strong price, that's where you have to be careful. So look at the card and then you can do some comparable pricing that way. But like we said, that not every 4 can sell for the same because they can be miles apart as far as eye appeal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's why I say I wanted to kind of conclude on that, just to give everybody. I figured this was a good opportunity, Steve, since it was a straightforward episode. I figured we'd give them a little couple of tips there at the end, just so they can understand what the differences are. And yeah, we'll showcase. And if we get some more, we'll showcase some of that. But this one was a vintage heavy episode, along with the SP Authentic as well. So I think that's it, Steve. We made it. Another episode in the books. We'll have to reprimand Blair for his tardiness. We'll give him a hard time, I think. That'll come up with next week's episode.
He's out there vacuuming anyway, so he knows he's in trouble. So he's doing some household chores right now.
We will remember these things. We will discuss this again down the future. But for Steve, Collector Scalps, Collector the People, episode 92 in the books. Again, if you have any time-sensitive questions, reach out directly to the store. Especially if you want to see what the pricing availability is on the new SP Authentic. You want to know that? Reach out directly to the store. That's the fastest way. Links in the description so you can use the contact points. But if it's not time-sensitive or you just have a general question or comment, feel free to put it in the comment section. Also, hit the like and subscribe. We're working our way we want to get to 450, push past the other channel, and then also see if we can get to 500. Again, I can't pitch for something cool for 500 subscribers unless we're a little closer to it, then I can start making a pitch for it. But we'll work on it from there. All right, that's it for us this time around. Thanks very much. We'll catch you in the next one.